oh my gosh, listen to this. This is so important. Having witnessed so many awkward moments in company rehearsal and also I've been a ballet teacher for the last like 5 or 6 years. Listen. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking through how to stop holding yourself back as a ballet dancer. I know that I have struggled with this so much in the past, and so many of the dancers that I work with individually as a mindset coach, when we start working together, they say they struggle with this. And having helped dozens of dancers get from the place of constantly holding themselves back for fear of failure, fear of putting themselves out there, fear of being seen making mistakes, whatever it is, I've helped them get to the place of confidence and being able to put themselves out there, performing with ease. And so much of this, you guys, lies in the power of the mind and using it to your advantage. So I'm going to be talking through some of the tips and insights from my work as a mindset coach in this video. So partially, one thing that I see holding dancers back from really putting themselves out there is self-doubt. They actually struggle to believe that they're capable of handling a challenge or looking good in that choreography or whatever. And so if you find yourself in that place, I've already made a video all about how to start believing in yourself at any skill level. And so you could go ahead and watch that to specifically address that block. Now, for those of you watching who you're struggling to put yourself out there, you find yourself consistently holding yourself back from standing in the front, from raising your hand to demonstrate, you shrink, you feel like you just shrivel up inside when your director comes and watches a class, or, the director steps into an audition and you're like, oh. So many of us dancers have had that experience, and we see our ability to perform just crumble as a result, and we leave feeling so frustrated with ourselves. Like, I know I can do better. Why didn't I dance the way I know I can? Why do I always do this when it matters? So if you're feeling that way, you're so not alone, and I'd like to help. So one really notable block that I see dancers experiencing is the fear of making mistakes or being seen as doing the wrong thing. We're scared of messing up in front of people, basically. We're scared of fueling that imposter syndrome with, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make a mistake, and then they're really going to see that I'm a failure, that I don't belong here, that I can't do this, that I'm incompetent, that I'm behind, all these things, that it's a fluke that I got in. Comment below if you felt those things. You're not alone. And so I want to give you this first tip in response to that it's really important to replace that dualistic black and white thinking of I'm either right or I'm doing well, or I'm wrong and I'm doing very badly. We can dissolve that dualistic way of thinking and instead replace it with, well, okay, what is it? What's my intention? What do I want to share? What do I want to show? What are some really nice things that I can demonstrate? Knowing that there might be a few little things that you would love to go back and do differently, peppered in there, but what you can focus on instead of, will it be good? Will I do this well enough? Or is it going to be bad? You could replace it for, it's neither going to be all good or all bad, but I can step out and I can show something that's nice. And a second point that's related to this is another block that I see a lot of clients that I've worked with experiencing is what holds them back is not only will they do it right or will they do it wrong, but will they do it right according to the person who's watching them? Will that person like what they're doing? Will it be good enough for them? And of course, that question would bring up angst and doubt because you can't know until you've done it. That is so important to just let that sink in. That so many dancers, we hold ourselves back because we are seeking validation that we can't have until we've put ourselves out there and done it. Or we can't have it until some other dancer takes the spotlight, they do something well, and then the teacher or the choreographer, the director is like, oh yes, that's the way I want it. And so then we wait to get that validation until someone else has already received it. someone else has already received the credit for it. And then we're like, gosh dang it, why didn't I think of that? I could have done that. Well, my friends, okay, now that we've seen this little catch-22 situation where you're looking for validation that you'll do it right, but in order to step out and do it, but you can't get the validation until you step out and do it. So here is the antidote to that. Instead of asking, will they like it? Am I doing it right? Ask, how can I provide value? And a way to fulfill that is starting to see yourself, instead of you are a student, you are an employee kind of a type of person, where the definition of doing things right is doing it exactly how the teacher said it. Instead, recognize that a teacher can demonstrate and they can be specific, but still I believe there will always be room for a little bit of your participation, for the expression, the musicality, the little choices that are left open-ended that you can bring to the situation. So instead of defining like it right or doing it well or good, defining it as, good is however the teacher has said that it has to be done. Instead, start to see yourself as more of a collaborator, as an artist. And no, this doesn't mean you have to drastically change the choreography, but rather you can add your own expression, fill in the parts where they didn't specify. And by that, you actually give the teacher, and especially a director or a choreographer, you give them the opportunity to see what more could be created through the piece or the combination, what more they could talk about to share with the other students or to point out. I mean, how often have we as dancers been in a class where a student, a dancer, out of their own volition, kind of puts their own spin, their own pizzazz, their own energy or musicality, their own port-a-prop, whatever it is, their own emphasis on a certain combination in a space where the teacher didn't specify? How many times have we seen that happen? And then the teacher is like, wait, I need you to show that again. Go back to the corner. That was so good. Oh my gosh, everyone, did you see what she did? Oh, it was so good. We should all do it again and do it just like that. That only happens when a dancer starts to see themselves as an artist or act like an artist and to put their own autonomy into play. So that is a really great way to be an active participant in saying, okay, how can I provide value? What is it that I can share? And see what they think of it. Being a little bit more detached from the outcome, but rather focus on what you have to share. Instead of like, oh, how exactly did they show it? Is that how they want it? Oh my God. That, of course, that latter way of thinking will probably cause you to hold back out of fear. Hey dancers, I'm just going to briefly pause my own video to talk to you guys about the support I offer to dancers individually as a mindset coach for dancers. So what I do as a mindset coach is I support dancers through letting go of things like insecurities, fears, self-doubt, confusion about their path as a dancer, all these mental struggles that prevents us from not only feeling our best, but especially dancing our best. So the support I offer as a mindset coach is to help dancers not only adopt a healthy and confident mindset that helps them perform their best, but we also talk through emotional wellness. That's a huge part that I address in the coaching process. And also career strategy. That's something that I really haven't emphasized on my channel enough. So often I ask dancers about, okay, what's your plan? What's the next step for you? And we design an action plan to get them from where they are to where they want to go in the most efficient and powerful, effective manner. So if that's the kind of support you are looking for, if you're noticing that you're experiencing these mental blocks, these frustrations, these like hangups about like, gosh, why can't I get this right? These insecurities or fears about your future, and you're noticing that's not only impacting your mental health, but your ability to perform, or you're just not sure of how to get from where you are to where you want to be in your career, reach out. My one-on-one coaching program would be a fantastic fit for you. And actually, to assess if you and I would be a great fit for working together, simply click the link in my description to visit kirstenkemp.com, visit my one-on-one coaching services page, learn more about what my services and programs include, and read some awesome testimonials from past clients. And then what you can do is simply click to apply for a free 30-minute consultation. That's where you and I will be able to discuss your challenges you're facing right now, your goals, and assess if you and I will be a fantastic fit for working together. Don't miss out on this opportunity. It's a fantastic time of year while we're still getting started to get the support to really make this your year and to flourish, okay? I want that for you, and so I hope you'll reach out. Again, to do so, click the link in my description, kirstenkemp.com, and I hope to talk to you soon. All right, let's get on with the video. The third point is, from a mindset perspective, it is so important to develop good taste as an artist rather than practicing harsh judgment. So what does that mean? Harsh judgment is something that most of us use in order to assess if we're on track, if we're doing something right. We can get, again, so black and white in our thinking as dancers, and it really doesn't serve us. In this black and white thinking, we kind of forget that we're participating in an art, not so much a science. And yes, there are some aspects of ballet that can be approached very scientifically, very practically, through use of understanding of anatomy, ballet technique that's been codified through centuries. You know, there are some things that are objectively seen as right and then as wrong in ballet. And so that's understandable, but there's so much of it that we leave on the table that we could be, you know, approaching as artists. So when I say, instead of developing a sense of judgment, develop a sense of taste, that looks like saying, instead of always looking in the mirror like, was that good? Is it bad? Is it good? Oh, that's good. Oh, that's bad. Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Instead of almost like doing a morality test with yourself in the mirror every day, why don't you approach it more from that question of, do I like what I just did? How do I like to do that? Do I like moving this way? What would I like better? What would feel better? Those questions start to point your attention towards the autonomy that you have, and it starts to develop your sense of artistry. Because what do artists do? They create expressions that are uniquely their own, out of their own perspective and their own choices. We don't call people artists who just like copy what other people tell them to do. That's not art, it's just following instruction. Developing that sense of taste of like, how do I like to move? How do I want to move today? What do I want to experience, or how do I want to express myself today? What qualities do I want to play with? That is such a great way to get out of the dualistic thinking, and it actually starts to bring to your awareness what value you have to share, what's the perspective you have to share. And I've seen that, especially I've experienced this myself, that when I started to interact with class that way, I was way more willing to put myself out there than before, when I was in that very judgmental, dualistic way of thinking of, is this right? Do they like that? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? So put that one into action. Okay, for this last point, I actually want to read what I wrote in my notes for this video, which is, in order to get ahead, we have to be okay with being seen in process. Okay? We have to be okay with people seeing us like not quite where we want to be. Because as dancers, we all know logically that we're never quite where we want to be, which, you know, I would love to challenge that. We can adapt that idea of where we want to be to fit where we are right now, and then set challenging goals from there. Instead of the constantly like, I'll never be good enough and my goals are always way beyond where I am. Just really harsh perspective that I think breeds a sense of inadequacy. I do want to say that we have to be okay with people seeing us making little mistakes, not being perfect, because no matter what, that's what people are going to see. But when you become willing for people to see you that way, you also become willing to put yourself out there and receive opportunities that you want. It's a very paradoxical thing. And also, just because you are willing to be seen in process, willing to be seen imperfect, that doesn't mean you are necessarily going to make more mistakes. Rather, you'll probably make fewer mistakes, because since you're willing and you're being vulnerable, you're probably a bit more grounded, a bit more calm while you're putting yourself out there, versus if you're in that way of thinking of like, I hope this is good, I hope it's perfect, I have to be perfect to be seen, you're going to be a lot more stressed. And that stress, it actually puts you more in your sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight, which takes the blood flow from your extremities and the more unnecessary processes in your body, and pushes that blood flow towards your vital processes and organs. that doesn't really help you while you dance. No wonder we start to clam up and we get more fatigued and we make a lot more mistakes when we're stressed. That's why it's so important, again, to be willing to be seen in process. Again, you might even make fewer mistakes, but to be willing also opens the doors for you to put yourself out there and receive more opportunities. And as a part of my notes, I wanted to read that the way to be seen in your process without losing credibility is all in how you take responsibility, handle mistakes, keep a level head, and grow as a result. Okay, so if you are really worried about losing credibility because like, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself out there, they're gonna see me make mistakes. Ugh. The way to keep credibility while being seen messing up, because it's going to happen, it's all in how you respond to your mistakes. And I've made videos I can link about how professional dancers respond to mistakes. And it's so important to learn this lesson. If you totally freak out, you get emotional, you give up, you shut down, and you can't move on after a mistake, what that signals to the person who's watching you is that you cannot handle what you're doing. Now, I want to say, I really believe you can handle it. We all have moments like that. So please, no shame, no judgment. I've totally been there. I have crumbled so many times in like class or rehearsal. I've crumbled. We all have our moments. It's so important to develop a practice of just being calm. When you make a mistake, you can take responsibility for it by just like moving on and doing the best you can with whatever you have left to do. That is so important. Also, taking responsibility, oh my gosh, listen to this. This is so important. Having witnessed so many awkward moments in company rehearsal and also I've been a ballet teacher for the last like 5 or 6 years. Listen. So many dancers, when they get a correction, I shouldn't say so many, I've seen lots of people, but I'm not saying it's like everyone in the room, okay? So I've seen lots of dancers get a correction, and then they are very quick to be like, well, yeah, I did that because like someone was off of their mark and then it confused me, and so then when I was confused, I got off my mark and then, or I did this because my point shoe was dead. It's like, okay, don't worry. I mean, personally, for me as a teacher, honestly, I'm not like judging my students. I'm not like immensely bothered that they made a mistake. I'm more just like, that was for you. You needed to know that. Moving on. I really don't want a backstory. Unless it's like, my perception is really off and something actually happened that I really do need to know about because it actually wasn't about that dancer's technical issue, it was about something else that we need to fix. That's different. But so many dancers like offload responsibility for the mistake by like projecting excuses or a story, and they'll be like, this is not an excuse, but it's like, dude, here's what principal dancers do. I've watched enough of them to see this. They receive the correction and they go, okay. And if appropriate, they instantly practice. They fix it and they move on. Very few words exchanged. Why? Because a lot of them are able to get to that point because they recognize their ego cannot be so wrapped up in like, oh my gosh, you saw me make a mistake. Big whoop. Okay, everyone makes mistakes. So as dancers get older, a lot of them recognize, when I let my ego get so wrapped up into this, I want to be like, oh, well, I made this mistake because, and you just need to know, and they like project insecurity every time they make a mistake. Instead, stop projecting. Just let it be. Just move on. So anyway, instead of like projecting all that insecurity and the over-explaining and all that stuff, what really builds credibility in the face of making a mistake is just taking it in stride, just nodding, practicing again, and moving on. Most teachers just are this way. I think the ones that are reasonable, they are this way. Instead of, them like judging you so hard for making a mistake, a lot of times we just don't want to waste time. We have a lot to do in a class or in a rehearsal. So we just want to see a dancer quickly implement the suggestion. We want to see that a dancer recognizes and takes responsibility to practice and fix whatever it is that just happened. And as long as we see a dancer taking responsibility to improve whatever it is through learning and practicing, and as long as the teacher sees growth, then actually that can build so much credibility and trust. So mistakes are going to happen. We don't have to fear them so much. Our power is in the response. So keep that in mind. And that is all I will share for today. I hope this video was super helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and comment below and make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.